If 2020 couldn't get me, 2021 couldn't get me, and 2022 couldn't get me, getting the flu in the first week of 2023 was not going to put this guy down. Hey everybody, Anthony here from Awesome Anthony Productions. Got put a little behind with my video schedule, so now I'm finally bringing you my top 10 best movie list of 2022. You can tell I still sound a little shitty. Anyways, before I got sick, I brought you my worst of 2022, and now you gotta flip to the other side of the same coin. Let's do the best of. Every year we get tons of movies. 2022 was no different, but we actually got some pretty great movies in 2022 as well, and a lot of great horror movies too. So stay tuned, I might have one more top 10 coming because I only limited myself to putting 1 or 2 horror movies on this list. Alright, enough of the intro rambling bullshit. Let's get right into it. Number 10. I honestly think that only Baz Luhrmann could have told the story of Elvis, and Elvis definitely proved it. His style, his love of music, his respect for the late Elvis Presley, along with a career-defining performance from Austin Butler, turned this into a very moving tribute to the original rock star. Sure, things are changed here and there for cinematic purposes, though nothing nearly as bad as Bohemian Rhapsody. And the film doesn't shy away from telling some of the tougher realities of Elvis's life, telling a fully realized story spanning his professional career that has a pretty emotional climax. Oh, and Tom Hanks plays manipulative and greedy pretty damn well through all his prosthetics. Number 9. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies and its Gen Z satire were so close to ending up on this list, but I had to give this spot to The Menu. That was another satire that just came out of nowhere and blew me away. I really wasn't expecting much, especially after I saw the trailer. I just knew that Anya Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes were going to go against each other in the movie, and that was enough to get me excited. And it's another brilliant satire, like I said, but another brilliant thriller, too. The Menu offers a delectable 5-course meal of a brilliant cast. I mean, shit, you got Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, John Leguizamo, and a whip-smart script full of hilarious dry comedy and a scathing satire of foodies, the rich, and yuppie culture, capped off by a beautifully satisfying and kind of disturbing finale. Number 8. With the Batman is finally given the incredibly gritty and dark realistic take that he deserves. This is an epic gothic movie that's epic in length and scale, but small enough in scope with character and a detective story to allow for a much more dramatic, thoughtful, and at times pretty scary take on the Caped Crusader. Robert Pattinson's tortured and methodical Batman goes through a hell of an arc here and is allowed to be a full-on detective, and the movie is just all the better for it. Plus, it made the Riddler pretty scary, and a lot of that goes to Paul Dano. Number 7. Picking horror movies for this list was so hard, and picking between this and Barbarian was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. And I was one of the dumbasses that chose not to invest in GameStop back in 2020. Anyway, it might be a little cliche with a lot of the elements that it uses, but Smile is tense, scary, creative, and very disturbing, all wrapped up in an incredibly stylistic package. The increasing insanity of the main character, played here by Sosie Bacon, makes this a roller coaster of a watch that actually has something to say about mental health and the way that people treat people that have mental health issues, and it does all of that without taking away from the film. Plus, it's a modern horror film with only practical effects for the most part, and I will always applaud that whenever I see it. Top that off with Sosie Bacon's realistically pained, vulnerable, and exhausted performance, and you have a recipe for one of the best horror movies of the year that was just capped off with wall-to-wall bangers. Number 6. Throwing in everything and the kitchen sink and pulling it off is one thing, but the Daniels didn't just pull it off, they fucking nailed it in every sense of the word with Everything Everywhere All at Once. The multiverse aspect of this film is better explained or executed than everything we've seen out of Marvel in the last couple of years. The action scenes are incredible, it's unapologetically weird as all hell, and the performances are all natural, engaging, and charming, especially from Michelle Yeoh, Ke Huy Quan, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, Stephanie Hsu, Jamie Lee Curtis, James Hong, and even Jenny Slate. Everyone is fantastic, and it has an emotionally resonant payoff that almost anyone can relate to. Watch this back to back with Encanto and Turning Red, and you'll really want to give your parents a hug. Number 5. Bullet Train is probably one of the best action movies of the year, and probably of the last few years. It's stylish with a fantastic cast and a genius plot where every single little detail is intentional and has a payoff. The jaw-dropping action is incredibly fun, creative, and entertaining. And the movie is hilarious too, with one of the most oddly endearing main characters I've seen in a long time with Brad Pitt's Ladybug. It ended up being one of the most fun experiences I had at the movies last year, and it really sets the standard for R-rated stylistic action comedies going forward. We need a Lemon and Tangerine prequel series for this movie, please. Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson were fantastic in this film, and I wanted so much more of them when I walked out. Number 4. With Pearl, Everything works. Mia Goth, the cinematography, the music, the way the horror and violence are shot, the amazing commentary on mental health and the way that the people that are afflicted with it actually deal with their day-to-day lives. Everything here is fully and artistically realized to its fullest potential. And that is mind-blowing for a prequel that was shot in secret right after X was filmed. Goth and Ty West, they made this surprise prequel a beautiful nightmare that I had a blast getting lost into. And as much as I loved X, this film was even better. And each time I watch it, I fall right back into this beautiful Technicolor nightmare that's much more than just an exploration of a broken girl's psyche. I've watched this movie 5 times already, and I'm not even close to getting sick of it yet. Number 3, wow. Avatar: The Way of Water was well worth the 13-year wait. James Cameron took us back to Pandora with sights that are truly a spectacle to behold, and the decision to move the action from the trees to the water needs to be applauded. So much of this film is like straight up crack for your eyeballs, and a lot cheaper to get. And James Cameron and his team have improved their technology so much, they basically made the case that the uncanny valley is dead in this film. I kept having to actually pinch myself in the movie and remind myself that it was CGI. I know there's that one shot online with Jake tying that leather strap that everybody saw that in the movie, and everybody's mind just collectively exploded at the same time when they saw that because it looks so real. Add to that the inventive and stunning action sequences, the fully realized characters with emotional arcs, the epic but simple story, and the near perfectly executed themes of family and leadership that you never see in Hollywood nowadays, and you've got the recipe for one of the best movies of 2022. Number 2. After Disney shot their Frankenstein's Monster of Pinocchio remake onto Disney Plus, I had very high hopes for Del Toro's version. And man, he did not disappoint. Don't let the style fool you, this is not a kid's film. Del Toro has handcrafted something much more in line with the tone of the original Pinocchio novel, with a dark tone for the film and quite a lot of tragedy, especially with his decision to set it in World War I Italy. But through that darkness and tragedy, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio still ends up being something very emotional and heartfelt. Had me in tears multiple times. It has a great message, great acting from all of the voice actors, and it was easily the best Pinocchio film of 2022, and one of the best films I saw in this year, period. Oh, and the stop motion is so f***ing gorgeous! The love and care can be felt in every single handmade detail here. Only one other movie beat this out for my favorite of the year.
Fear me if you dare.
Yeah, it may be a surprise, but Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is my favorite movie of 2022. It has some of the most creative and imaginative animation I've seen since Into the Spider-Verse, with some incredible action sequences. It's got a surprisingly mature, Western-inspired story that gives Puss in Boots an exciting and emotional adventure that goes to some dark places and deals with some real adult themes, like anxiety and the fear of not just dying, but the fear of having your best days be behind you. There's also a great cast with fantastic characters and amazing villains, with the big bad wolf and him being the personification of death being legitimately one of the scariest things I've seen all year, and it's in a PG-rated DreamWorks film. This movie was a dream come true, and the storybook animation helps with that as well. You could pause every single scene in this movie, and it would look like a painting, and I love that DreamWorks has stepped back into that. Plus, IGN described this as the Shrek franchise's answer to Logan, and holy shit, that is so accurate, especially with how much this movie pushes the PG rating. It's scary at times, and there are plenty of henchmen that legitimately die horrible deaths on screen. And I respected the film all the more for having the balls to take it there. DreamWorks is coming back in full force right now between this and The Bad Guys, and I am so excited for it. I can't think of a single thing I didn't like in this film, and I am so amazed and blown away that a sequel to a spin-off film from a franchise that was already failing, that came out 11 years later, was as great as it was. Actually, it wasn't good or great. I thought it was perfect. So there you go, my top 10 movies of 2022. Let's get to the honorable mentions real quick. I'm going to fly through these because I have a few of them. My honorable mentions are in no order, by the way, and I'm not going to mention any horror movies because I got a top 10 list coming for that very soon. Alright, honorable mentions. The Bob's Burgers movie. Victoria and I watched this movie so much and we're still not sick of it or the songs. This is really the perfect film for Bob's Burgers fans. Top Gun: Maverick. This is a definitive summer film with real, epic, high-flying action sequences. The Northman. A testosterone-fueled revenge epic that can feature poignant scenes of contemplation and trippy visuals alongside a scene of 2 naked dudes fighting next to an active volcano. And that's just badass, isn't it? Violent Night. An insanely violent Christmas-themed romp with a great lead in David Harbour and a tone that mixes Home Alone and Die Hard to super fun and gory results. Turning Red. Pixar's take on a girl's coming-of-age movie is hilarious, lovingly animated, and tells a pretty poignant story on generational trauma with a hefty dose of early 2000s nostalgia. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, a fun, exciting, and action-packed adventure that feels like a Sonic game come to life and always respects the source material. The Fabelmans, a realistic, beautifully told story of innocence lost in the way film and filmmaking can help anyone through the worst parts of their lives. And lastly, The Bad Guys. Creative animation, a giant heart, and a fast-paced sense of humor really propelled this movie from good to great, and the fantastic voice cast and constantly exciting heist scenes are the icing on the cake. Anyway, that's my top 10 best of 2022. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please leave a like, go ahead and scroll down and subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of my list. Let me know what your favorite movies of 2022 were, especially if you thought that I missed something that you think I should go check it out. Make sure you ring the bell so that you never miss any of my content. You can also find the links to my socials in the description below. And while you're at it, you can click or tap on these cards here. It'll take you to my top 10 worst movies of 2022 video, or just over to my channel where you can check out my reviews, my shorts, and my old shit. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope 2022 was good to you. Hope you had a good start to 2023, and I will see you on my next video.